that is not an easy task. An average Joey Schmoey does 12 homes a year. Matter of fact, I'll even give him a little bit more, maybe 5 more homes than that. But average Joey Schmoey is not doing what you're doing. But the biggest sacrifice that I had to make was sacrifice 100,000 for 1 million. Sometimes you got to sacrifice $1 million to make that 5 million, to make that 10 million. And it's not an easy task to make, because in the beginning stages of building a team, the beginning stages of building a business, you got to sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of energy, and not make the money that you can make if you go out there and do it by yourself. That was the shift that I had to make. And once I made that shift, yeah, temporarily 2017 and 18 was a difficult time, but because I was able to put the right people in place and develop other people and duplicate myself, 2018, 19, it just exploded.
Hi everybody, Jose Luis Morales here. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today we have Micheal Barayev. He's one of the owners of Nova Energy. They're based out of Miami, Florida. And today he is going to teach us how to build a sales team. Now, in real estate, I am what you would consider a top producer, but one of the areas that I've really struggled in is helping other people sell as many homes as we do and how to scale out that process. So I'm excited about today's topic because that's an area of my business where I would say I would need a lot of help, and Micheal's an expert in that topic. So Micheal, for our viewers that don't know who you are, who is Micheal? And then how did you get involved in building sales teams?
I love it. So I was lost in the sauce from 0 to 19. I was a confused kid. I had no idea what I was going to do in my life. I went through a lot of traumatic experiences. My parents almost killed each other with domestic violence in the home, and being mentally abused, emotionally abused, and physically abused. You kind of grow up with some traumas and some kind of patches on your head, right? Mentally. So it basically, I went through foster care because of that. Got kicked out of 8 out of 9 schools. So my life was always chaotic, right? So at 19 years old, when I was an adult, so to say, I had no clue where I wanted to be in life. I just knew that I did not want to live this nightmare that I lived through, right? And I was sleeping in my car. I met a guy in the gym, and he was a mentor at that. He became a mentor in my life after that because he had 7 children. Because when I heard him say 7 children, I'm like, how the hell do you feed these kids? That's my first question. That's what I thought. How do you do it, right? Because growing up, we grew up so poor. Me and my brothers, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I lived in a living room my entire life almost, So to me, hearing that he had 7 children, he must have done something right. So he put me under his wing, and he started me in a network marketing business. And in network marketing business, you have to learn how to build teams and learn how to sell. Those are like the 2 skill sets. You need to learn how to sell people a product or a service, and then you have to learn how to build relationships to build teams. So at a young age, I always learned that the only way to X yourself out of any equation, you have to learn how to build teams. Now, for me, the biggest challenge was learning how to deal with other people because I wasn't so good at communicating. I wasn't amazing at building relationships because I didn't have the substance as a young child. My parents didn't have the time to necessarily, teach me those things. Living a chaotic life, you don't learn those blessings and lessons early on. So I kind of had to learn as like a 5-year-old at 19 years old, how to communicate with someone, how to start a conversation, how to shake someone's hand, how to look them in the eye. I had to learn all those things. So my 5 years from 19 to 24, all I did was build teams, lose teams, build teams, lose teams, build teams, lose teams. And through that cycle, what ended up happening is I started learning a lot about myself and learning a lot about other people. And at 24 years old, I ended up a friend of mine called me to, one of the guys on my team was doing really, he was doing like $50,000 a year selling Time Warner Cable, which now is a company called Spectrum. And I'm like, if this guy, and he was lazy, like he was a lazy guy, barely worked. I'm like, if this guy's making 50 grand a year and he's lazy, a guy like me who's willing to hustle and push and shove, I'm going to double that sucker. So I said, yo, can you do me a favor? Can you give me that kind, can you hook me up and let me work there? He got me a job there. And my first year, I made like 70, 80, 90 grand almost. I don't remember exactly. What happened was though, is I got fired. And that day I will never forget because it was my first corporate job. I never really worked in a big corporate America thing. And it was like a big company and all these rules and regulations, what you can do, you shouldn't do. Long story short, they had a lawyer, the HR come in, and I literally was sitting there and humiliated that I'm getting fired. And it was just, that day I'll never forget. I was like, you know what? I will never, ever, 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 ever want to work for a corporate America big company again. And the next day I ended up working for the competition, and they had us knock on doors to sell Verizon. Right, which was knocking on doors selling TV, internet, and cable services. This was back in 2015 when it wasn't really the hottest product in the market, but to me, that was the one thing that was available for me at the moment, right? So I started knocking on doors, and I learned so much about myself. And in the first 11 months, I made $139,000. Now, as a 24-year-old, 25-year-old making $139,000, while I was able to stack 70,000 because I was living on 50, right, and put the rest of it in my pocket, I was like, holy shit. I made all this money with my own effort. And every single day that I knocked, this is what went through my mind. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way where I am not required to go out there to put my effort to make a certain amount of money. There's got to be a better way. And I always thought about building a team and always doing that because I always had that in the back of my mind. So during that process, while I was making that money, I was building a team in that office. So out of the 13 agents that were in that office, 9 of them were recruited by me personally. I didn't ask for any compensation. I didn't ask for any overrides. All I did was just share the opportunity with friends and people that I knew, people that I recruited in the field to come work with me. And what I realized was when that office was shutting down, they were not, the company that I was working with, they were not really excited about building and growing. They were just happy with just staying stable and kind of staying where they're at. They were shutting down their location. They were going to move it to Manhattan. I was like, you know what? They don't see the same thing that I see. Because what I saw in my head, I saw 100 people on my team. That's what I saw. I was like, I'm going to see 100 people on my team. And they didn't see that. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to start my own thing. And that's when we started the Barayev Marketing, which was in 2016. And it was a very, 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 challenging time to start a business because we got a contract with a big company, which you probably know, T-Mobile. It was the toughest thing on the planet because now I went from a salesperson to becoming a sales manager and a business owner at the same time. So that's a big shift. Going from, there's different levels of skill sets. The first skill set is being an employee. You got to be a good employee, right? Second skill set after that is a salesperson. After a salesperson is being a sales leader. After a sales leader is maybe being a sales manager. After a sales manager maybe is being a owner. After an owner is being a CEO, right? So those are different levels you want to go through and I had to jump from a salesperson all the way to like owner CEO. And it was a big shift. But because I had a foundation from my network marketing days, I learned that building relationships and building teams was what's going to get me to the promised line and get me to exit myself and kind of like exit myself out of the equation. So we started the company in 2016. By 2019, we had 156 people working on our team. And I remember like it was yesterday. It was August 2019. I never forget. I looked at my bank account. I made millions of dollars in such a short period of time. And to me, I was like, wow. All I did was just duplicate my skill set into other people. And literally, I was sitting in my office. I'm like, okay, I physically do not have to go out there to knock on doors anymore. And it was a beautiful time at that moment for me to recognize that the only way to actually create massive success is to take a short-term hit, short-term, for a long-term gain. And like you're in real estate, right? So you're doing very well. You're probably doing 70, 80, 90 homes a year, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. 100%.
That is not an easy task. An average Joey Schmoey does 12 homes a year. Matter of fact, I'll even give him a little bit more, maybe 5 more homes than that. But an average Joey Schmoey is not doing what you're doing. But the biggest sacrifice that I had to make was sacrifice 100,000 for 1 million. Sometimes you got to sacrifice $1 million to make that 5 million, to make that 10 million. And it's not an easy task to make because in the beginning stages of building a team, the beginning stages of building a business, you got to sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of energy, and not make the money that you can make if you go out there and do it by yourself. And that was the shift that I had to make. And once I made that shift, temporarily 2017 and 18 was a difficult time. But because I was able to put the right people in place and develop other people and duplicate myself, 2018, 19, it just exploded.
I love it. I love it. So let's say that I'm building a sales team from scratch. Let's say I'm a real estate agent. I'm a top producer. Obviously, it's going to require that I take a step back to be able to build this. What are some of the key qualities that I should be looking for when hiring additional salespeople?
I love it. So what I look for is different than what someone else looks for. Like everyone looks for different things, but you have to understand, I don't hire based on skill set. I hire based on mindset and values and principles and character. Those are the things that I look for first, right? Because at the end of the day, skill set is very easy to teach. You have SOPs, you have training material, you have videos, you have courses, you have all that kind of stuff. If you have that internally, you could train someone else. It's very easy to train someone. 30, 60 days, boom, they're great, right? But character and things that you believe in they're things that the person grows up with. They learn from their father, their uncle, their cousin. They learn through trials and tribulations. So you're never going to meet a person has bad integrity and all of a sudden he's gonna be a great sales guy. No, that person may be a great sales guy for 2 weeks or 2 months, but everything's gonna collapse because it's built on a house of cards. So you want to make sure that when you're hiring people, what I look for are what are their characteristics? Who are they? What are they about? How do they talk? How do they think? What is important to them? And you just ask them a lot of questions in the interview that are more character-based versus skill-based. Because a lot of people in interviews, they ask them about, well, what's your experience and what you do here? I don't care about that. I want to ask them the tough questions. Tell me something that happened in your job that you're very proud of. Tell me something you're not proud of. Dig into the strengths, dig into the weaknesses, dig into what are their top 5 values that they believe in that have to be in a relationship, that has to, like, it's a must. Because what they will tell you is exactly how they think. And if you know how they think, in a few weeks, you'll know how they're going to talk. If you know how they talk, you know exactly how they're going to make decisions when you're not there. So one of the things that I learned, and the top things that I look for personally, number one is they have to have a big dream. They have to have a big dream and a big desire, a burning desire for something greater than themselves. If they just want to have a house and money, all those bullshit things that people always say when you ask them, what are your dreams? That's not going to motivate them when things get tough. I want to know what is their deep desires that's in their minds at 10 o'clock at night. What are they thinking about? What are they obsessed about? Right? And you only find that out through asking the right questions. So that's number one. Number two, they have to have a massive work ethic. I have seen so many talented people, but talent will not get you the results that you need. As a matter of fact, I'm afraid when somebody's talented. I'm worried. I'm scared because I know that throughout their whole life, everything came to them very easily. Because I know that. Like for me, as an example, school was the easiest thing on the planet. Even though I got kicked out of 8 schools, for me, it was easy. But one of the things that helped me so much was that I had this lazy bug inside of me. So I was very talented, but my work ethic was impeccable, right? So when you find someone that's talented and they have a bad work ethic, it's disaster for them. It's disaster for them and disaster for you. But if you find someone that has a high work ethic but small talent, I don't care about the talent. I mainly care about the work ethic because I can train them to be skilled. I don't need magicians. I don't need, the best of the best. I just need someone that's willing to go out there and crush it and put in the time and the effort and be consistent with that. So work ethic is number 2. And by the way, you don't notice the first day, but you can ask certain key questions to figure out, how do they work? Like, how many hours did you work in your last job? Okay, 40 hours. Really? Why don't you work 50? I'm going to ask them. What did you do outside of work? Like when you have a certain job requirement, what do you do? If you had to do X, Y, Z, this and that, and you had to drive 2 hours to get a customer to sign a deal, what would you do? You ask them these questions based on figuring out what would that person do in these tough decisions and tough situations, and you kind of have an idea who they are. But you really won't know until you take them out for the first couple of weeks, right? I don't know if someone's everyone says they work hard, but their actions prove it. Actions will prove everything, right? But at least you can have an idea. So that's the second thing. So burning desire, have a big dream. Number 2, work ethic. And number 3, they have to be coachable. Well, Michael, how do you know someone's coachable? I don't care if they have a high ego. I don't care if they're meek. It doesn't matter to me about that because I have high ego guys that are very coachable. But they have to have an open mind. Are they educating themselves when you're not there? Are they reading books? Are they studying podcasts? Are they, who are they emulating? Who are they studying? Who are they watching? Who are they listening to? Who are they learning from? And if they're like, oh, I don't know who this guy is, like they don't know who, the top leaders in real estate are or in the industry, I'm like, okay, so this guy's not paying attention because he's not looking at the top of the top. He's just spending time with his cousin Joey on the weekends drinking beer. Nothing wrong with that. But if I'm going to be investing my time, I want someone that's hungry, someone that's coachable, that wants to learn, that has an insatiable, like he's so hungry for information that's the guy I want to invest my time in. Because I know if that guy sits down with me for 2 weeks, all he's going to do is ask me a ton of questions. He's going to be curious as hell. And guess what happens? I'm going to infuse in him a lot of information. And that guy's going to be able to duplicate me faster than the guy who thinks he knows it all. Right? But most people, what they do is they want the best real estate guy and they try to recruit all these top guys. But in reality, that's not the guy you're looking for. I don't mind waiting a little bit, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and let the person incubate with me and grow with me because at that moment, that individual is going to be loyal to me because I've invested so much in him and got him from point A to point B. Whereas if you recruit a top guy, listen, it may be easy because someone else did that work, but he's not loyal to you, right? Unless you build that relationship and that bond. So I like building people from the bottom up because they last longer. It's a little bit more harder, a little bit more long-term thinking, but it definitely works on a long-term vision if you actually are doing something that's going to last for the next 5-10 years. So those are the 3 things that I kind of look for. Sorry, it was a very winded answer, but those are very important things that I look for.
I love it. I love it. Good. I think those are all important. It's funny because the work ethic and coachable are the things that I hear the most. I think the challenging part is people can BS you during interviews, right?
Of course.
So what do you do to keep that from happening, or not keep that from happening? Yeah.
I wish we had this black light on someone's forehead and it has an L or it has a W. You know what I'm saying? Oh, shit, this is a winner, this is a loser, right? But we obviously don't have that. But what we do have is one of the things that we did. So we had about 30 people in our company for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, right? And I was like, why are we not, like, how come we can't get to that 100 mark? Because I had this vision of 100 people. One of the biggest mistakes that I had was that I was going from interview straight to hiring. That's what most people do, right? They go from interview to hire. So we implemented a step in between: interview, day of observation, hiring. And that changed the freaking game. Because during the day of observation, we did two things. Number one, we were monitoring who this person is, right? Because we did a two-part day of observation, one in the office and one in the field, right? So we could see how they operate, with the team, and also how they operate with customers, right? And we also created a educational setup for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. They're going through information that we want them to know, so it can pre-frame them by the time they go to the field and deal with customers and deal with our culture. So it's kind of like with a customer that you're trying to sell a home to, you're pre-framing them about what's going to happen. You're pre-framing them so the objections don't come later. You're kind of handling those objections early on. So for us, as door-to-door, is that, nobody wants to knock on doors technically. So before they even know that it's door-to-door, we kind of like pre-frame them on why we do that. What's the benefits of doing that? We talk about the culture. We talk about the vision. We talk about the commandments that we have in our company. By the time they're done with that day of observation in the office, they're sold on the company. They're sold on us. Now, to sell them to go knock on doors, that's the easy part because the vision is big enough. But not only are we selling them the idea and the vision of the company, they're also trying to sell them. They're trying to sell themselves to us because we're telling them, listen, at the end of this day of observation, we're going to figure out if you're the right fit for us and if we're the right fit for you. And this is what today is about, to see who you are and what you're about. And when we take them to the office, we take them to the field, we do all those steps, we can tell a lot by that person just in one freaking day. And by doing so, what ended up happening, we didn't have to start, selling the people on the company or what we're going to do. They were starting to sell us on why we should hire them. So the tables were turned where now we're able to choose who we want from the day of observation versus begging someone to come back and work with us, right? Especially in your industry, everyone has high egos. Everyone thinks they're the best of the best. But if you have that implementation, dude, it's incredible. People will be like, pick me, pick me, pick me, versus you chasing them to say, hey, come work with me. Once we implemented that, it went from 30 to 60 to 150 like that.
Where do you find all these applicants for sales jobs? And are these sales jobs 100% commission only, or are they
Great
like
question.
salary plus commission, or how does that work?
If I had salary commission, we would have 1,000 people, because salary and commission is very easy to hire. Commission only is the most challenging thing to do, but we figured out the secret sauce of how to do that, right? So as we were doing that, it was all strictly commission. Okay, and how we did it there's two ways that you can find, three ways, technically four ways, but the main three ways I would say is, number one is Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Craigslist, all those job sources, right? All those jobs postings. But you're going to find regular people, good people, whatever. The best people you're going to find, in my opinion, is through referrals from the people that are working in your company. And number two, your social media. The amount of money I made off social media is insane. Not directly. Facebook sends me a couple of $100 here and there every freaking month. God bless their soul. I don't care about that, right? TikTok sends me some money, but it's bullshit. The real money is in the relationships, right? And when you're out there posting content on a daily basis, podcasts, videos, whatever it may be, and you're blasting yourself out there, grabbing massive attention, what ends up happening, the second someone follows your content, I got them on the hook. Because all they need to do is watch my content for 2 days or 2 weeks or even 2 months. And all I did was infuse in them who I am. They know me more than I know them. So what ends up happening is that I don't have to tell them, come work for me. They literally message you and say, hey, do you have any job positions available? Are you guys hiring right now? So you would attract these amazing people that would normally not be on Indeed. Because if you think about it, when was the last time you were on Indeed looking for a job? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my point. I don't even know what Indeed is outside of being an employer, right? I don't know Indeed. I never actually use any of these websites. Why? Because top guys are not on these websites. Top guys are on social media watching content. They're working somewhere. They're already producing. So if you want to get the top guys, and by the way, I'm not a big proponent of poaching people like actively. That's not how I do things. I do it in a very strategic way. Watch my content for a couple of weeks. They'll come around themselves. I don't have to poach them. They'll magnetize towards you based on your values, based on your belief systems, based on how you speak, based on who you are. Because I made this mistake before where you poach certain people, you get the wrong schmuck, it can ruin the whole culture, right? So I want to have the right person, because if they align with my mindset and they align with my values and principles, it's much easier to have them come work with me. And they just come to you. They magnetize towards you. And that's how I get the best of the best.
I
Like
love it. I love it.
one of my best friends messaged me on Facebook because I was doing a Facebook Live in 2016, knocking on doors. He saw the Facebook Live, messaged me. He was already making $250,000 a year at that moment, which was a lot of money for him at that time. And he was making more money than me because I was only making 100 grand that year. Remember that knocking on doors with Verizon? But I told him, yo, I'm going to open up this business. I'm going to start making something crazy. Come work with me. He did not want to. But guess what? 2, 3 years later, guess who came on board? He came on board because he saw me fucking explode. And I kind of brought him with me, right? So at the end of the day, social media, in my opinion, Facebook, Instagram, I was using Periscope. I don't know if you know what Periscope is. I was using Periscope. Okay, it was like a Meerkat or like a live streaming service similar to live streaming. I was using everything. I was banging on Twitter. I was banging on all these different places. Now I live in TikTok. I live in Instagram. I live in YouTube. I live in LinkedIn and Facebook. Now, do I physically go there and every single day post? No. I got my team doing that, right? But every single day, you'll see 2 videos a day. Business content and entertainment. Business content, entertainment. Bang, 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 bang. And some people love it. Some people hate it. It's okay. But guess what? They still fucking know my name, right? And we went from a couple thousand followers to 10 to 20. And now we're at 30. And we're about to get to 100. It's just going to grow and grow and grow because at the end of the day, the person who keeps punching the freaking door is going to eventually break that fucking door. Eventually, it's going to break. The water dripping on the rock, eventually the water is going to break the rock. And that's the mindset that I have with social media.
I love it. So on observation day, what are some things that you look for on observation day and what are some red flags?
I look at how they study, what kind of questions they ask. You know, I haven't personally done an observation in like a very long time, but one of the things I look for is I look for the dynamic of the person running the day of observation, asking the right questions, figuring out what's important to them, talking about the key concepts that we believe in, the values, the principles, seeing they like that, if they don't like that, kind of figuring out who they are as a person. Because that's the time you can get intimate with them and ask them deeper questions. Because it's not really an interview setting, it's after the interview. It's kind of like they're on their day of observation. They're observing you, you're observing them, and you're also able to go with them and say, yo, come with me to a showing. Come with me to sign this contract. I want you to see how I do things if you're hiring a new agent, right? Kind of show them the game a little bit. By doing so, they're able to now connect the dots with what they're going to be doing and connecting the dots with you're going to be serving them and helping them. Like, you know what? I like that because someone's going to be helping me. The biggest problem in real estate, in my opinion, is everyone is a solo ranger. Everyone's solo. Like, no one's building teams. They're always competing with each other. No one wants to say, you know what? Like, let's do things together. Even your broker at the end of the day. I know so many agents, their fucking broker won't even help them. It makes no sense. The guy makes a 5%, 10% commission on you, and he's not willing to help you. Makes no sense to me, right? Either he's too fucking busy, which I don't think so, or B, it's just the industry. Now, in my mindset, every time I had a new guy, that guy is attached to my fucking hip. Because my whole goal is how do I duplicate my skill set and my mindset into this guy? The faster I can get him to be on his own, the fucking better. Because then I can go from 1 person to 2 people to 4 people to 8 people. Because remember, I'm not going to be able to train everybody by myself. It's impossible. But guess what? The first guy that I freaking knocked with, that's my boy right there. I'm building him into a leader. Hey, we're going to be building a team. I need your support. I need you. I need you to work with Tommy today. Hey, Bobby, I want you to work with Robert today. Let's go out there and crush it today. And that's the mentality. And when you build that dynamic and you build that culture of camaraderie and that brotherhood or sisterhood, bro, no one's going to break that. It's impossible. You know what I mean? And that's how you grow from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 people.
So whenever you have 100% commission structure, any key tips on the compensation structure, on coming up with a compensation structure that allows you guys to meet the company goals, but also allows the salespeople to make what they need to make?
I love it. So one of the things that I learned is that people think that commission-only sales guys want the highest commission. That's the only thing that's important to them. False. Commission sales guys want the best of every single world. I'll give you an example. Right now, our sales guys, okay, they're selling solar. We are not the highest paid commission company out there. They know that. I know that. Everyone knows that. But who cares about a high commission if you don't get paid fast enough? As an example, who cares about high commission or a highest commission, an extra $1,000 or whatever, as an example, but you don't have an operations team to back you? Like, we have so many. I look at it this way. How many things can I do to add value to the sales guy so he can do less bullshit and do more of what he needs to focus on? For example, we have a retention person, salaried retention person plus commission. His sole purpose is to save deals. If the word cancel comes out of a customer's mouth, the sales guy doesn't have to go chase the customer to save that deal. The retention person does that. That's an add value for the salesperson to go focus on getting more deals. So the salesperson, like, wait a minute, I get a great commission here, but I also have value, 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 value in all these areas. I don't need to go work at another company that's offering an extra $500, right? So in the world of real estate, everyone's talking about percentage, right? But the more percentage you give away, the more shit you got to do by yourself. At the end of the day, you got to kind of create a system and a structure where it's healthy commission, but you're giving them something of value for taking a little bit more for the company. As long as you're giving them value, people will be okay with that. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't want to build a car. I want to buy a car as an example. I could build it. It'll be cheaper if I build it. Why the fuck would I build it when I can go buy it? I don't mind the dealership making some money. Make a couple of $1,000. It's okay. As long as I get my car taken care of, right? That's the same mindset. So commission is the same thing. You don't have to give them the top tier commission and give them 99% and you keep 1%. You can't do shit with that. Give them 70, 75, 80, whatever, and leave a little bit for the company and then find ways to add value to those agents. And if you find ways to add value, whether it's, administrative work, operational work, maybe you have a team that does all the showings for them. Think about that. Like a lot of real estate agents, maybe they don't want to do all the showings. Maybe you have a beautiful girl or a beautiful guy that his sole job is to do all the showings for you, for all your sales agents. Would someone give away a 2-3% for that? I would, because I don't got to think about that. So you have someone that's going out there and doing all the showings for you. All the paperwork is done by the in-house team. All the contract work is done for you. All the legal work is done for you. You don't have to sit there and talk to their freaking this broker, that broker. You can figure out all those value points, make it easier for the salesperson to focus on one or two things, which is prospecting or presenting and closing. Dude, you can give them any commission structure. They'll love you to death because they don't care about the percentage. They care about making money. And they can make more money when they're prospecting and presenting versus doing all the bullshit everyone does in the industry. You know what I'm saying? So if you're trying to build a brokerage, I would focus on how do I add more value to the sales guy? And believe me, they'll be way happier to get a lesser commission.
How do I basically take as much off their plate to basically keep them selling? And I think that's important because that's what I've been able to do really well for me individually is that I focus on income producing activities. That's basically my entire role. And then I have admin that helps me with everything else, processing paperwork, certain negotiations as well too. What I wanted to ask you, so for one of your salespeople right now, what does a day-to-day look like now? Like how many doors do they knock? What's the success formula to make it in solar sales?
Great question. So we have a little bit of a different structure. So we have our sales guys that come into the office morning meeting from 10 to 12 o'clock. They're in the office doing trainings, whatever. So they go from the field to, let's say, from 1 o'clock till about 8:30, right? But they're either knocking for self-genning appointments, getting their own prospecting done, but they also have generators or appointment setters setting appointments for them, right? So it's kind of like a 2-punch knockout for them. They're self-genning because I always say never depend on someone else giving you leads, ever. Don't be a lead baby because the second you stop prospecting, you're putting that power into someone else's hands. So all the sales reps are trained to go out there and self-gen. No matter how many appointments they get a couple of self-gens, right? We call them self-gens, self-generated leads. On top of that, you also have generators generating appointments for you. So you have leads coming into you hot, ready to rock and roll. Now, that's the door-to-door team. I also have an online virtual team. They're basically a little bit, to them it's a little bit easier because they get hot leads given to them and they just show up to their presentation and kind of close those deals, right? But the guys that are knocking on doors, that's their kind of day-to-day. And they're out there, knocking anywhere from 100 to 150, 200 doors, depending on the area, depending on the day. And their goal is to get into 2, 3, 4 presentations a day. 2, 3, 4 presentations a day will guarantee them 1, 2 closes a day. And some guys are doing 1 close a day. Some guys are doing 1 close every 2 days. Some guys are doing 1 close every week. It all depends on the individual.
Got it. Is the compensation structure different for the warm leads versus the leads where they self-generate? Like, are they incentivized to go out and generate on their own, basically?
Correct. So if you self-gen, you have a little bit of a higher commission because you're prospecting and you're presenting and closing. When it's generated for you, obviously that commission is a little split of that is given to the appointment setter because he's the one that generated that lead, right? If they're doing virtual sales, listen, you're getting hot leads. There's marketing costs. There's all this stuff. So the easier it is to create a sale, the less commission you make. The harder it is, the more commission you make. And they're okay with that because some guys like being on the phones. Some guys like being in the doors. Everyone's different, right? So whatever your preference is as a salesperson, we have that bucket to fill in.
Got it. And then for the hot leads, I'm imagining that it's people that are more seasoned versus the new guy.
You
Like,
have to, yeah, you got to be top tier. So like we have a few guys, not a lot, because it's like you got to be top tier. Like we're spending every single person is getting like every single salesperson that's on the phone. You're spending anywhere from 10 to 20,000 a month per person. So I'm not going to spend 10 to 20,000 bucks. So you're not bringing in a 3, 4, 5x return. No freaking way. Right? It's very important that that guy is a machine. So what we have in our company is the top guys have a choice to become a virtual sales rep or, stay as a door-to-door guy and not have that risk.
A virtual sales reps means that you're basically selling on Zoom or basically on the telephone, basically like an online presentation. But that's like the
100%.
top tier salesperson. That's
Top
somebody
tier
that's
guy.
very well seasoned. Got it.
Correct. Like right
What are
now
the
it's
different
closed off.
levels?
I said it's
What I was going
closed
to ask
off
you,
though for top quality people though.
got it. So what are the different levels like from like there's your entry level person, then there's somewhere there, and then there's a top tier people in solar. What does that look like?
We have a few levels. So the first level, we call it a generator. Their job is to go out there and generate appointments. Okay, so your job is to go prospect.
And are they presenting at all or no?
No, they're just
No.
setting those appointments. They're knocking on doors, talking to the homeowners, setting up that appointment. Right? Their job is to get that customer hot. They book that appointment. Then the next person, which is the producer, his job is to go close those deals. Right? So everything is based on skill set. We have a whole a hierarchy based on skill set. The first skill set is prospecting. If you cannot prospect, you do not deserve to be a closer, in my humble but accurate opinion. Who the hell are you to be a closer? I have a lot of guys that come in for interviews. Oh, I don't want to prospect. Okay, you're not going to be here. Even if you're a top closer, show up for 30 days and prospect to show that you know what you're doing. Because first of all, no one's going to book you appointments unless you know what the hell you're doing, number one. And number two, are you beneath knocking on doors? I had $1 million in my bank account. I was knocking on doors. I didn't give a shit. Oh, but you're all this top shit? Bullshit. So humble yourself. You're here for an interview. You're looking for a job for a fucking reason. If you're looking for a job and you want to work with us and our culture, then guess what? You're going to prospect for at least a couple of weeks to show that you got that skill. You learn how to prospect? Great. You can produce now. Okay? And as a producer, your job, is to go out there, show up to their presentations, also prospect, but also show up to those presentations and close those deals. And their commission is anywhere from $2,000 to $7,000 to $10,000, depending on the deal they sell, right? So they get compensated very well. And then you have the next level is, once you're doing something really well, you know how to start training people, right? So we call that an impactor in our company. An impactor's job is to solely train people, right? Training people how to prospect, training people how to present, depending on what level that person is at, right? But you're teaching them mindset, skill set, tool set, whatever it may be. Then you have the next level, which is the influencer. Your job now is to learn how to build a team of 5, 7, 10 people on your team, right? So you're equipping other people now. You're teaching others how to train. So it's not just you training everyone all the time like a monkey running around. Now you're teaching others how to train. You're developing other leaders. The next level is the developer. Right? That's kind of like a manager you would look at, maybe a person that runs an office. And his sole goal is to develop the office, develop the team, right? Develop the people, develop their relationships, develop their minds. That's their job, right? You can look at it as a manager. And then the last level is a visionary, which is someone that has access to become a partner of the company, kind of like a brokerage if you think about it. They have access to get a little bit of the profit sharing, and now they own a little piece of the pie, so to say. And in our company, we have 3 of those visionaries, but it's very difficult to become a visionary because there's a lot of requirements. You need to have good funding. You need to have a good skill set. It takes a little bit of time, but the vision is there. That's the vision. We call it the vision. We don't call it the compensation plan. We call it the vision. So the vision is there. The question is, will you learn those skill sets? It could take you 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. I don't know. It's up to you as an individual to go out there, but they have something to shoot for. It's not like a myth to them. It's not like, oh yeah, go make money. That's it. They have something they can shoot for because not everybody wants to stay as a producer. Some people want to be that developer. Some people want to be that person that wants to train. They need to see something greater than themselves, right? And they want to see that growth and advancement. So you got to kind of hit a lot of buttons when you're building a team because everybody's different. Some people, they want to have someone on the weekends. They need a therapist. That's what they need. So can you be that leader for them? You know what I mean? And that's, you got to figure out what's important to them. If somebody tells me money is the only thing that's important to them, that is the wrong guy that I'm looking for. That's not the guy that's going to survive in our company. Money is important, but it's a byproduct of the important stuff. It's not the most important. Because if you focus on the right stuff, the money just chases you automatically. Does that make sense? It's like if you're hungry If you eat the right foods, your body will be taken care of with the right minerals and vitamins. Just eat the right foods. To focus on the right stuff. Eat healthy. It's the same concept.
Got it. So generator, producer, impactor, influencer, developer, and visionary, right? Got it. Love it. Good. Now, this is one of the challenges that I've had, and maybe you could help me with this. So, one of the challenges I've had is the skill set, like transferring the skill set to other people and the training of other people. And there's two different ways that I look at it. One is there's so many different things to learn in real estate. So I'm wondering if it's easier like in solar where the learning curve is not as complex as it is in real estate, or if it's the same thing and it's just not the right training program.
If you would have asked me this question a few years ago, I would have said, maybe it's easier. No, solar is a very difficult product to train on because there's a lot of shit they got to know. It's a lot. It's electrical shit. It's not just, it's so finance shit. There's a lot of different things they have to learn. So it's just as difficult as real estate, I would say. When I say difficult, I don't want to say it's the same challenge, but it's a little bit of a different game. But it's definitely not easy, right? I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's definitely doable. Like we could take it. We have 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds that are making crazy money. Like, I wish I would make that kind of money when I was 21 years old. You know what I mean? That's insane. To make $250,000 a year as a freaking 21-year-old, that's not normal, right? So these guys are able to do so because of the training system. So one thing that I learned about training, it's not about the person that you're teaching. It's about the person that's doing the teaching, right? So do you have a system in place, a duplicatable system where if you're not there, someone else can take place and train those people? Do you have a process? Is there a course they can watch? Is there like documents they can go through at a step-by-step basis? Do they have a 5-day, 10-day training cycle? Like, you have to have an office set. There's a few places they need to learn, right? Number one is in the office. Number two is at home by themselves. Number three is with someone that's going to physically train them and mentor them, right? And if you have those three things in place, last one is the field, right? So it's in office, in their house, having a mentor to train you, right? A person that's going to give you that time and attention, and also learning in the field with experience and going through those no's and those rejections and whatever it may be. So if you have those four things in place, it's very easy to transfer the skill set to those people. But like I said, some people come to the table, they don't want to study at home, they don't want to study in the office, and they expect me to give them all the information. Bye-bye, Felicia. Not going to happen, right? They have to have those four things in place, and we have to create the right environment for them to want to. Like, we don't force our guys to come to the office. They want to come. And the ones that don't want to come, they don't make it. They just don't survive. We get rid of them because it's not going to make any sense. They're not going to survive on their own in the wilderness, right? You can't make it a requirement, right, as a 1099 real estate agent, but you kind of can say, listen, every single day we're going to show every single morning, and we're going to go through a training for an hour. That's it. And you go through what training? Figure it the fuck out. Build it out. But every single day you're giving them some kind of office training, whether it's motivation, whether it's skill set, whether it's how to process a deal, how to do this, how to prospect. There's so many topics that you can go through. Build it out and go through it every single day and have those guys go out there and then apply it in the field. And then you take them with you and you show them how to get it done. Most real estate agents say, okay, here's a pamphlet, go figure it out. No, bro. Like, where's the broker? What's the broker's job in the beginning? Take your fucking guys and show them how to get it done. Show them, right? I do, you watch me. As you're watching me, I'm asking questions. What do you see me do? What did you see me do? Why do you think I said this to the customer? Why do you think I didn't say this and I said that? Oh, you see? Boom. So you're having a relationship and building that connection and training him and seeing how he thinks. Because I don't want him to see what I do only. I want to know what the fuck did he learn? Sorry for my language. I want to know what did he see me do and why I want him to make those decisions when I'm not there. So I want him to understand the thought process and why I said what I said to the customer. Because he may say, well, why didn't you tell him about the interest rate yet? It's not necessary right now. Right? As an example, right? So you got to know how to have that relationship and that connection with that guy you're training, figuring out, like, what does he understand that I just did? Not just doing it and that's it. And as you're doing it and he's watching, now you're going to have him do it and you're going to watch him. Good. I love how you did that. Nope, don't do that next time. Change this, change your tonality, add this, say this line, this one-liner right here. Listen, don't talk about the mortgage right now. It's going to scare them out. Just figure out what their dreams are, whatever. Do this, do that. Okay, let's try another one. Boom. And now you're training someone. Yes, it's heavy in time. It's intensive, but the rewards are unlimited. Because once you have a trained person and you have a loyal guy on your team, dude, you have one guy. That one guy can help you train someone else, and you train someone else. Now you got 4 guys, from 4 to 8, from 8 to 16. And then you can get to eventually whatever number you want. But you need to build that core team. You know what I mean? And in real estate, I think it's doable because it's a great, great industry. Even in this market, this is the best time to build it. Everyone's looking for fucking opportunities like crazy. But you just have to have the right foundation to give that to them, you know?
Do you do group training mainly, or is it individual one-on-one, or what do you recommend?
Both. They need to have both because they need to have group dynamics and also need to have individual attention. They need both. Classroom style and also one-on-one attention. So definitely both.
How much one-on-one attention do you guys do for your salespeople?
It depends. I mean, one-on-one is a lot because it's remember in
Yeah,
the beginning it was me. In the beginning it was me. So I was literally from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. I'm training everybody, right? Those 9 guys that I recruited to that company that wasn't even my company, I just did it from the kindness of my heart. I just say, yo, you're with me. 2 guys with me. Let's go. Let's go knock. Watch what I do. Helping them out, right? So I learned this lesson from one of my mentors. Never do anything by yourself. Nothing is done by yourself. Nothing. Why would I do anything by myself? If I'm doing it and I'm the best, I want the freaking guys to see what I'm doing. They got to learn from me somehow. So I never used to knock by myself. Very rarely. I always had somebody with me so I could train them. The guy that I took with me when I was knocking the doors ended up being one of my biggest managers. Whoever hangs out with me is going to get a ton of information from me. Because while I'm not with them, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm investing in myself, going to events, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars into my education. So I have all this information. It's got to go somewhere. And you pass it on to these people that are next to you. So the guys that ended up spending a lot of time with me ended up making a shit ton of money because they were close to the fire. And then you're able to train them and duplicate your skill set into them. And then you have to learn how to train those guys how to train other people. That's another skill set, right? Because now you're dealing with people's emotions and mindsets and all this kind of other shit.
What I wanted to ask you is, who helped you guys, or are there companies out there that can help you come up with a different like processes and systems? Like, so for example, like I've seen this before where it's a generator, producer, impactor, influencer, not in those exact roles, but I've seen it in a real estate investing company where they're making like $4 million a month or something like that. And they have it in a different layer. I've also, and this is kind of the part where I've struggled a little bit, a lot of the stuff is in my head, like how to do a listing presentation, what to say, how to say it, what scripts to say. I've gone some of it documented, but I don't know if it's documented in a way where it's easy for somebody else to be able to train other people.
So that's what you need to do.
Is there a company out there? Did you guys do that internally?
I know. So I did it internally, right? So everything we do, like I have one of my guys on my team. He's been working on this for the past, I don't know, 6 months maybe. Every single action is documented. I got SOPs, which is a standard operating procedure. We got an SOP for someone to go to the bathroom. I'm joking about that, but everything is SOP. Everything is SOP, right?
Like
That's
meaning like how fast they pull the zipper down, and I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, you think I'm kidding? Open this, click this, do that, so that if that person dies, someone else will come in, boom, replace. Yeah. If I have to, I am not held hostage by people. I will never build a business if I'm held hostage by a person. It's the worst place to be in.
Did you create the SOPs, or was there somebody on your team that did that?
Someone on your team did. In the beginning, it was me because I didn't have enough money to hire people to do all of that. So like for your situation, right? You don't need to spend money right now. All you need to do is take the pitch and document it on a Google Drive, on a Google Docs. Put the pitch there. How to call, how to do a cold call, how to do a warm call, how to handle objections, how to do this, how to do this, how to do that. Like one of the things that I had in the past couple of years, I don't have any more clients right now, but I'm thinking about opening it up again. Doing some coaching for clients that wanted to build sales teams. We gave them all our SOPs, everything. Just like, here, this is what we did. Just copy it to real estate, copy it to roofing, copy it to whatever, because we had all that built out. Because at the end of the day, sales is sales. Change the product, change the service, change a couple of words is the same shit. But you need to have those things documented so you can literally say to the guys, hey, watch this video. Hey, read this document before tomorrow because we're going to go over this. Objections, late objections, early objections, impulse factors. I mean, all kinds of different trainings that you have all in one big hub, one big place, so that they're not calling you every single minute asking, hey, how do I process this, this whatever, blah, blah, blah paperwork. You have to have everything documented on videos, on paper, on audios, and make it so simple that a blind monkey can come join your company tomorrow and get shit done in that job.
I love it.
And that takes time, bro. That takes time,
What is like what's the size, at what size do you have somebody else help you with the training, the onboarding? Like when you have 10 realtors, when you have 10 salespeople,
It
20.
depends. It depends. It depends. So, like for example, it depends how much money the company's making, right? I was the kind of person, if I'm making, I'm always investing into the business, right? I'm always finding ways. Like if I hire an employee, I got to make at least a 4 or 5x return. If I'm spending a 50 grand on someone, they better fucking bring me 250 back.
Mhm.
It's a mindset. Like, well, why would you pay someone 50 grand and then make only 50? I'll give you an example. We have an internal recruiter. I don't know why every company does not have that. Every sales company should have an internal recruiter. Why are they depending on some random company to bring them humans? The biggest asset is humans. So we have an internal HR person that does all of our recruiting. I don't depend on a third party company, right? So marketing, maybe you can have someone else do it. Maybe certain things you can outsource, right? But at the end of the day, you want to bring in as much power as you can in house. And listen, you don't have to hire an American. Maybe you can hire someone overseas. There's a lot of companies out there, a lot of people out there that you can hire in the Philippines, in Egypt, in different countries in South America, whatever it may be, whatever you're looking for, right? So you're looking in California, you probably have a lot of Hispanic clients, right? Hire someone in Colombia, half the price, 3/4 of the price. You can get a great freaking engineer, great freaking whatever you need, right? If they're customer facing, maybe hire an American. If they're not customer facing or back end, hire virtually. You don't need to hire an American to make America. Like it's okay. You're starting out a new business. You're starting out in the beginning. Hire someone. We have a lot of people in the Philippines that work with us. Amazing people. The best. Matter of fact, if I can have everyone from the Philippines, it'd be the best thing on the planet because they don't create any issues. They just work. They get shit done. They're amazing people. They're loyal. And at the end of the day, it's just they do a great job. So I would definitely for your situation, anyone watching this, hire a virtual assistant. It'll cost you $200, $300, $400, $500 a week, whatever it may be. It'll cost way less than an American employee, but they'll get shit done. And start there because that's a great place to start. I wish I did that when I started my company. I didn't do that.
It's funny because we actually hired a recruiter recently. We were in search of an administrator person. We hired somebody that helped us find somebody in Mexico. And the person was a recruiter in Mexico, and she helped us onboard it. And it was interesting because before that, we were trying to get one of our guys to learn the skill set of like how to fill up the funnel, how to hire, how to interview. Instead, we just said, hey, look, let's hire somebody that's what they do for a living. But I agree with you 100%. So let me ask you this, like, what about contest and company like targets, monthly targets? How do you keep people engaged with those sorts of things?
There's a lot of things you could do. You should be gamifying your business, right? Gamifying your business because you got a lot of sales guys with testosterone and estrogen and whatever kind of team you have. Gamify it. Create, like for example, I took some of my guys. I travel a lot, so like I go to like 4 to 5 countries a year. Last year I went to 8 countries, but I'm always traveling to different new countries. I have 100 to hit. It's like a goal of mine, a personal goal. So like in February, I took one of the guys with me to India. Last year, I took one of the guys to Peru. You know what I mean? I'm going to different places and creating games and contests, whoever wins, this and that. There's a lot of things you can do to gamify the business to get certain numbers hit. In a commission-based world, like real estate or solar or anything like that, you got to create standards. Like we have a standard in our company. You don't do X amount of sales in a quarter. Bye-bye, bro. First of all, you're not making me any money. And second of all, you're not making yourself any money. So what the fuck are you doing here? And you're affecting the culture. I don't care if it's the top guy. He's got to go. I've gotten rid of the top guys. And guess what? They weren't really top. They were just high talented individuals that you were not ready to let go of because you really wanted them to win. But at the end of the day, I don't look at it like that. That guy's affecting the culture because his zero sale production is affecting everybody around us. So at the end of the day, and I always have this mindset, there is no shortage of amazing people out there. There's just a shortage of how many people you're talking to on a daily basis to recruit. So if you go talk to more people, you'll get more people.
I was going to say that if you don't have the onboarding or the recruiting department, you're basically settling for people and you keep people on for longer than you should because you're not constantly recruiting for talent.
I'm always, what's crazy? My team makes fun of me. We call it SNR, right? We don't call it fire. We call it SNR. Services no longer required. It's my favorite word. My guys know when I come in, I'm like, oh, where's this guy? He didn't show up today? Oh, bro, SNR, everyone starts joking around. SNR, we start all joking around. The second I feel like someone's not part of the culture, done, gone. I don't care who they are. By the way, I love my brothers to death, but they're not working with me for a reason because I love them to death, but it was not a good fit. I don't care who it is. If they're not part of the culture, they're not willing to add value and get to the vision as fast as I want to get to the vision as a team, and they don't want to add value, God bless your soul, but you're not meant to be around us. And that kind of culture keeps people on their toes a little bit because the top producers, the guys that really are producing, they respect that. You know what I mean? Because could you imagine me and you being part of a company? We're top guys. We're in a company, and they allow a standard to be lower than what we expect. Like, dude, I don't want to be part of this fucking culture. I want to be around people that are like making me a little bit like, like, damn, bro, that guy did 2 sales this week. All right, we got some competition in here, right? You want it to be fun and alive. And if the guys that are on the bottom, like the bottom 20%, I get rid of them as fast as fucking possible. I don't care who they are and what they're about. And sometimes they could be guys that brought in so much sales last year, but this year they're a different person. Now, I'm not going to just get rid of them. I'm going to have a conversation, talk to them, do all the empathetic stuff. But after a while, they're not doing what they need to do. It's better for them and better for us to kind of part ways. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What are some of the other standards that you guys have? So I know that sales is a certain standard. Do you care on how many doors they knock if they have the amount of sales at all?
No, I don't care about that. I don't press them on the doors because there's other drivers that I think are better. Like one of the standards that I like is basically like integrity as an example. A big one for us, huge, especially in the solar industry. I don't know how it is in the real estate industry, but in the solar industry, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of fugazi mugazi. So there's a lot of people that are, saying things, and there's no regulation. You can do whatever the fuck you want, and the customer won't really know until they're slapped with the panels on the roof and the job is completed and they're screwed. So with us, we make sure that if things are being done and they're done the right way, I don't care about the commission. I don't care about the deal. I'll give you an example. Today, we have a customer that we signed up yesterday, okay? And by accident, the sales reps, they're new, by the way. They're newer guys. They did not realize that they signed up the customer for an extra $15,000, okay? Because in financing, there's fees and all that shit. It was a $45,000 package, but when we looked at the system size, I'm like, usually the system size is like 20, 25, 30, you know what I mean? Like around that range. I'm like, why is it 40? The manager was like, why is it 45,000 instead of 30? We looked at the deal and they made a mistake. They offered the customer the financing price, and the customer signed as if it was a cash price. And I told them, call the customer, tell them we made a mistake, give them that discount. While most companies, you know what they would do? They would keep that extra $50,000 in their pocket. I said, we don't need to gouge the customer. We made enough money in the deal. They called the customer. They called them. The customer was so fucking happy. He's like, oh, thank you so much for being honest, this and that, because that's the right thing to do. Would you let your mom get screwed over for an extra 15 grand? No. So why the hell would you do it for some random guy? Ethics, morals, integrity, not when it's convenient, when it's very inconvenient. At that moment, it was so inconvenient. There was a lot of money on the table. 15 grand for a couple of guys? Just nothing? That's a lot of money. 15,000 bucks. No, call the customer right now, ASAP. We did that. We did the right thing. Guess what? I promise you, that customer won't forget us. I know that for a fact. And even if he does forget us, it's okay. We did the right thing. That's the standard. And when you make that decision as a CEO, as a leader, people are watching, right? And it's easy to be with integrity when you're regulated. It's easy to be, have integrity when you're going to go to jail if you make that mistake. But it's not easy to be full of integrity when you're doing it when you don't have to, technically, right? But morally, you have to. And that's the kind of standard that we live by. So there's a lot of things we stand by. Those are just one of those things that we kind of live by. And it's very important to us. So culture.
How would you describe your culture if you can describe it in a couple?
I mean, I always hate saying that because I always say this. In order for you to find out what the culture is, don't ask the CEO, ask the freaking newest guy in the room. The newest guy in the room will tell you what the culture is. Because who cares what I say? I can say high energy, ambition, loyal, go-getters, work ethic. Like we can say all those amazing things. But what does the newest guy who's been here for a week say? That's what I care about. That's what the culture really is, because the newest person just walked in here. So I always like to ask, what do you think of the culture is? And if they say those couple of words, then that's the right culture.
Yeah,
because they can feel it. They know more than guys that have been here for a while.
What do you think the new guy would say about your culture?
very big on education. Like we're very big on education. Very big on leadership. A lot of empathy. We're very driven, I would say, and work ethic is pretty big here too.
I love it. I love it.
Those are
So
some of the things that I would hope they would say, and I kind of feel like I've heard them say recently. And some of the guys, you ask.
yeah. So along with the training and the education that you guys do, one of them, it sounds like it's product knowledge, right? Like
Very,
meaning, like,
I would say 10% is product knowledge.
what would the education consist of? Like product knowledge is
Leader,
20%. What's the
so
rest?
mindset, leadership development. So I always tell my guys this: we are not a solar company. We are a leadership development company that by default sells solar. You know what I mean? So yeah, technically we're a solar company to customers, but internally we're not a solar company. I look at it as we're a leadership development company. I give you an example. My whole operations team, these are salaried people. They are required to read a book a month. And we do book reviews every Wednesday with them. It's not a, oh, I like this, I don't like it. One of the first questions we ask them before we hire anybody, are you a reader? Will you read a book a month? If we recommend you to read a book, personal development book, this and this and that. If they say the word no, I don't care what their experience is or their skill set is. They're not working here. Not because I don't like them, because I know that it'll affect my culture. And I'm the kind of guy, I want to invest in the newest person. I want to invest in my employees, my people, my members, because I know that if I invest in my team, the company will do 10 times better than any other company around us. We may not be $1 billion company today, but we will get closer to that goal eventually. Why? Because the people in the company is what makes the company. And if you have amazing people that are constantly improving themselves, not by force, but because they choose to do that, and it's part of the culture, dude, can you imagine where we could be in 10 years? Well, Michael, what if they quit and they go somewhere else? That's okay. My question is this: what if they stay here and I don't invest in them? That's the question you should be asking yourself. What if I don't invest in them and they stay in the company? That's even worse. Will people leave? Absolutely. People come, go, reason, season, lifetime. It's part of the culture. It's part of the life. It's part of everything. No one's going to be with you forever. I'm okay with that. But when they're here doing their part, whether it's a month, a year, 5 years, whatever their role has been, whatever their role has been in our life, in our company, I want to make sure they're being invested in and they're being taken care of and they're learning and growing and investing in themselves. So the education is huge on us. Leadership development, how to develop people, how to develop yourself. Like, for example, we got a couple of guys going to the event with Patrick and David, right?
Love it.
And the vault. I could buy them the ticket, but I want them to invest in themselves. It's $500. I got a $700, whatever it is. I said, James, you coming to the event? He's like, what event? I'm like, the vault. He's like, should I go? I'm like, bro, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you as your coach, you should go. He's like, all right, yes, sir. I'm going to that event. I got one guy, Oliver. He's like, any event you tell me to go, I'm going. $1,000, $2,000. He doesn't care. I'm like, oh, you going to this event? He's like, yep, sign me up. Just charge me. Because they know. Because if I recommend you to go to an event, I mean, I'm not going to recommend you to go to a strip club. I'm recommending you to go to an event that's going to change your fucking life. I don't do strip clubs. I don't do that bullshit, right? So I'm investing into them to get them better. The more you invest in them, the more you invest in your people, the return is incredible. Incredible. Not only for yourself, but for them. The change that they have in their life is you can't even imagine. And they become 10 times better in your company. That's amazing. That's the mindset you want to have. And a lot of people, they're looking for the shortcut. Money, 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 money. Focus on the right stuff. The money will chase you, I promise.
So most of it is mindset, leadership, and then 10,
Sales.
20% sales. So
Yeah,
what percentage?
mindset,
Sales 20%, leadership 20%, or 30%?
I don't look at that. So in the mornings, we have a separate training just for the leaders, right? So all the leaders and above, we have a leadership training. Then there's sales training, right? And every day is different. It can be mindset. You spice it up. You change it up a little bit. Different books, different this, different that. So it's events, this and that. So it's you constantly, watching videos. You show a podcast. You're sharing. It's a continuous. We also have our own internal course that we have for them. So all of that is just constant education, training. What ends up happening is that they get a lot of that information, and then they're able to go out there and impact people.
Do you track if they watch the internal course?
Of course.
Love it.
Like I give an example. One of the guys today, I was like, "Yo, what's up, bro? What's going on with the course? Why you at 14% still?"
And what did he say?
He looked at me. They know not to mess with me. He's like, I said, What happened? I'll get it done. I said, okay, perfect. So next time we talk, you should be at 20 something percent. Right? I know it's a lot. Well, I don't know what that noise is, right? I think it was the
I think
AC
someone's
shaking.
moving a desk.
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah, I was basically saying, like, next time I speak to you, it's going to be probably in a little bit higher percentage. And I'm going to follow up with that. I'm not going to forget. It's not for me, it's for him.
How do you deal with conflicts within the company, like between salespeople? Like you get all these maybe alphas coming into a room. You got all these bulls in a room. How do you deal with
You want to
that?
hear something crazy? You want to hear something crazy? In the past year, we have I would say, less than 3% conflicts.
Because of the personal development, probably, right? Or what would you say?
I think it's because of the kind of people we are looking for. So when I built my team from 0 to 150, oh my God. Whew, drama up the ass. This person has this problem. This girl has that. Drama. I'm like fucking putting out fires every fucking day. And what ended up happening, and I realized, was a lot of those problems were because of me. Okay, as the leader, you are infecting your team or you're blessing your team. Who you are as a leader will show up in your team. And it's crazy out there. Wow. I think there's a hurricane coming by today or tomorrow. I'm not even sure. I got to check the freaking news. I don't check the news. I think I'm going to die today, you know? Damn, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Oh, yeah, drama. So it was a lot of drama, bullshit, gossip, schmossip. When we started the team here, which was 2 years ago, I made it very clear. No gossip, no bullshit. Here's the 3 nevers. Never mess with someone's spouse. Never mess with someone's ego. Never mess with someone's money. Period. That's it. You fuck with that, you're out. Done. I don't want to hear that shit. So we ended up creating a culture where like everyone creates love and unity with competition. So that was a very difficult thing to do. But the second you see anything that can spark any kind of argument, nip that shit in the fucking butt. Like right there and then. And you find ways where you let them hash it out if needed, right there and then with you. You conflict resolute like right there in the spot. Right? And
so you put them together in the room, basically.
100%. What happened? Talk. There was this one time, this was in New York. These guys were talking, screaming, yelling. I said, oh, guys, hold on a second. I took a garbage can. I brought it in front of them. I said, okay, guys, continue. Because that's all you're doing. You're spitting garbage. So you want to do that? Go to the bathroom. You guys can shit on each other there. When you're done, we'll have a conversation. Those guys never forgot that. Because you're not going to sit here and spew bullshit in front of the whole team. Like, that's not going to happen. Figure out the problem is and get it done. Will there be problems? Of course. I'm not saying everything is perfect. But I would say percentage-wise, right now, less than 5%. And I don't know what it is. I really don't know what the secret sauce is. I have no idea. Maybe it's because I got better. Maybe it's because the people are better. I don't know. Maybe because the leaders that I have are not problematic. I really don't know.
When you said that you were contaminating your salespeople, what did you mean by that? Like at that,
how you think will spill into your team. So I was I was so mentally driven on hitting a certain target that nothing mattered. So I would by accident step on people, not realizing I was stepping on them to get to the goal. I'm way different now than I was when I was 26, 27, 28. You know what I mean? But it just, the different type of leadership that I have today is way different than I was back then. I'm more empathetic today than I was back then. I'm more caring, I would say. I'm more aware of my actions, more words. I kind of walk slowly through the crowd versus back then, it was me kind of running so fast that people would get hurt by mistake, not on purpose, So
when you guys are hiring, do you guys have them take any assessments? Like, so for example, it's funny because a lot of the things that you're saying are very close to the friends I have in San Diego. Even when they talked about gamifying your business, that's exactly what they did. The whole levels, they have it. So they use something called predictive index, and it basically tells them a lot about an individual. But if you don't use any assessments, what books would you recommend to kind of learn about some of these things about building a sales team in general? Like, meaning like the gamifying your business, I think that probably came from a book or some sort of trainer or something.
Yeah. It came probably from, I went to an event probably, or where did I go? Gamifying I don't know where I got gamifying. I'm a video game freak. Like I love video games. So it's always about hitting the next level. And people like to chase the next thing. So you got to give them something to chase. Right? You got to give them something to chase. That's very important. Like I did a thing called, I actually have it right here, actually. Like, for example, here, like this is like a gamification. You know what I mean? If you do 6 sales, As a producer, you get $500 gift card. You do 8 sales, you get an iPad. 10 sales, you get a MacBook. 12 sales, you go to an international trip with Michael,
That's
right?
exactly what they have at
Yeah,
the.
so similar stuff like that. And you just create like find ways to create contests, weekly contests, monthly contests, and just create some competition a little bit with love. Be careful how you create the competition. Very careful. Because sometimes you can create such competition where people start hating each other, and you don't want that.
Can you give us an example of that?
I created competitions in certain teams. I created competitions with certain teams where it'll be like so like sales driven, numbers driven, and then people will be like, "Yo, I'm gonna crush that guy." You don't want that. Like you want them to say, "Yo, I'm gonna beat you, but I love you." At the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's got to be a healthy competition because you could really destroy your whole office. I've made that mistake a couple of times in the past. So now it's kind of like, it's competition, but we're all helping each other out. And one of the things that we have our, one of the 10 commandments we have in our office is servant leadership. Serve, 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 serve. I don't give a fuck if you're not directly making money off that deal, serve. Everyone's helping each other out. I don't care whose team they're. I never want to hear the word, oh, he's part of my. Everyone's part of your fucking team. Now, yeah, part of your hierarchy for your commission overrides, okay. But I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear people nobody's under you. I had one guy one time, oh, I got 6 people under me. I was like, what? Under you? I said, you want people under you? Go to the graveyard. There's a lot of people under you there. Nobody's under you. They're not beneath you. These are people you have to respectfully serve. These are your teammates. These are your guys. These are your people. These are your brothers and sisters. So you want to make sure that they're always understanding that these are people that you got to love and take care of. And when they have that kind of mindset, they're not going to sit there and slap them with competition. It's more of like a friendly, loving competition, so to say. I hope I'm not being like vague too much.
No, I think you're being pretty spot on. Great, man. I think that this has been a very powerful interview. Anything else that you would say as it relates to building a powerful sales team?
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, it's not easy. It's not going to be rainbows and sunshines every single day. As you can see, it's not rainbows and sunshines right now, but it's worth it. It's way worth it. It's very difficult for someone like a high top producing salesperson to get out of that mindset of I got to do it myself. To say, how do I duplicate? And the best advice I can always give anyone that's really doing really well, if you're a top producer, build a effing team. It's the best thing that's going to ever happen to you. You will learn so much about yourself. You will gain so much freedom through it, so much money through it, in my opinion, because you're able to duplicate yourself with other people. And on top of that, it will motivate the shit out of you. You think you're a top producer now? Wait till you have 10 guys on your team. When you got 10 guys on your team, you become another type of producer. Another type of person that goes out there and crushes it because you're sitting there and serving other people on your team. And you want to serve and win for them. So my opinion, the best advice. It's like when someone gets married, right? They get married to a girl, they find a girl, all of a sudden they start becoming more productive, start going to the gym, all this bullshit. Why? Because you're doing it not only for yourself, but you're doing it to inspire someone else. So you need people on your team to inspire you. When I was in 2020, sitting in my house, spitting on the ceiling, got nothing to do, it was the worst time of my life. My best times is when I have teams. The best times you have is not when you're self-producing. It's when you have teams of people on your team. Best advice I can give you. Go build a fucking team.
If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, maybe somebody wanted to come work for you, maybe somebody wanted SOPs or anything like that, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Best way is Instagram. All the DMs is me. Maybe not the comments because I got my team doing that, but the DMs are always me. Just DM me on Instagram, Micheal_Barayev. That's Micheal Barayev. And, you can find me through, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. But Instagram is probably the best place where you can kind of message me and have a conversation and see if I can add some kind of value to you guys.
I love it, man. So I want to say thank you, Micheal, for taking the time to be on the show. For our viewers out there, we had Micheal Barayev. He is one of the owners of Nova Energy. He shared with us how to build a sales team, gave us some great nuggets. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode would be helpful, make sure to hit the share button. Thanks again, Micheal. Appreciate your time. And
Thank you.
until next time.